is up, everybody? Miss MTU coming with another video. I want you to stick with me on this one. This video that I'm going to talk about is a mini series. If you saw the title, it said Dead at 39. This is a personal story, my personal journey in regards to how I wind up really digging deep into teaching and how I just really relied on my mother before she passed away and everything that we went through that. So we're going to talk about 3 different categories. I'm going to have 3 different videos post. One about bullying, one about behavior, and one about balance. So bullying, behavior, and balance. Today, I'm going to talk about bullying part. So I'm going to get started. I will let you know this video, I'm going to try to make it as short as I can and not go into too many deep details, but I want you all to understand how deep and close this is, because we all, I believe, have something that we've went through and that has made us to who we are today. So with this thing, I'm going to just go out and just be transparent and say everything that I've been through, because that's all I can be. So at the age of 16, my mother was murdered. And I'm going to go back before that part and talk about the things that I went through before that happened. So I found out that my mother was a drug addict at the age of 6th grade. It's around 11 years old. Okay. My mother was a school teacher. She taught school every day. If you looked at one of my the older videos that I did, I talked about how she would come home and, have something to drink and something to smoke, cigarettes and things like that. But I never got into the deep part that really changed my life forever, and how the trauma that I dealt with connected me to not only just finishing her purpose and then finishing what I went through as far as education. So around 6th grade, I wind up having graduation. I was graduating from 6th grade. At this time, I did not know my mother was an addict. I knew that she was in and out of the home. My grandmother, we stayed with my grandmother. My grandmother was there a lot with me and my brother, who has autism. We were there with her a lot, and my mom was in and out. But I just loved my mom. I wanted to always be around my mom. I wanted her with me all the time. And I knew she was a teacher, but I didn't know the rumors, they really weren't rumors. I didn't know how known she was as this particular teacher. So I graduate 6th grade. She comes to the graduation, and all of a sudden I hear these rumblings. And the rumblings were, this lady is on drugs. So some of the kids would say, "Is that your mom?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my mom." It's like, oh, I didn't get it then, but I get it now. So it was little rumblings. They were like, we would see her at this bar, or we would see her at this. And it was adults too. We would see her at this bar. We would see her there. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So I started hearing things. So got home and I said, "Mom, I don't know. Thank you for coming to graduation, but I keep hearing like that you're on like drugs and stuff like that." And she said, "Oh, baby, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Just let people talk." And I said, okay. So I'm really catering to this bullying part that I'm talking about. So go to middle school. Okay. Middle school during that time back in 1990 was 7th, 8th, and 9th. It went straight through 7th, 8th, and 9th. I go to middle school. Very first day of middle school, I had people coming up to me, kids that I didn't know, students. "Are you Miss Lewis' daughter?" "Yes." "Are you Miss Lewis' daughter?" "Yes." "Are you Miss Lewis' daughter?" I said, "Yes." And I got the stares. There she is. And I just didn't know what was happening. So as time went on, I started hearing more, started watching more, started seeing the things that people were talking about. But that was my mom. And the crazy part is she taught in the same building. So think about having your mom, who's an addict, a drug addict, teaching in the same building that you go to school in. So this is where the bullying started. I didn't know it was bullying at the time. I don't even know if they knew back then, not as prevalent as it is now, how being teased and talked about really affected kids. And see, now we're more able to look at it. And you guys got to excuse my mannerisms because this is a really emotional story, but I want to share it. I have to share it so you all can just connect. I want to be able to share this story for people who may have dealt with trauma. So I had kids talking about me. Oh, your mama on crack rock. And then there was a song out about being on crack rock. During that time, the crack epidemic was still pretty high. It was still addictive. My mom she would go on these binges where she would go out at night. Like I said, we would live with my grandmother. She would go out at night, come home the next morning, and then go and teach school. So we would go to school after she didn't been out all night. I have no idea how she did it. I just knew that I loved my mama, and I knew that I thought she was a bad mama jamma coming up in there doing what she did, and I just really was very protective of her. Although I knew that she was dealing with this addiction that she had. So the kids would bully me. They would say stuff to me every day. Just, your mama, and I would just go in the bathroom and cry. I would cry at home to them, to my mom and my grandma and everything. But everybody would say, oh, just pray it off or it'll be okay. And my mom, I really don't think she really knew how to talk to me in regards to that, because the crazy part about it, not only were the kids talking about it, we talking about the teachers were talking about it. I would overhear teachers talk about my mother and things like that. And I'm not going to go deep into how she got involved with drugs, but she was on him, and she would go, but she would come back. She was like a functioning addict. She would come home and she would go teach, and I just admired her and I loved her so much for it. So when it comes to bullying, I just get so anxious when it comes to bullying because I was bullied and didn't have the support like they have now with kids that may experience bullying and things like that. But I was getting bullied so much, almost to the point where there were some times where I felt like I didn't want to be here, because I felt like I was begging my mom to do right, stop drugs. I knew she was on it, but the family kept quiet about it. Like nobody wanted to talk to me about it, but I saw it. And I would come home and I was yearning for help, like asking for help. And I mean, I would cry, and I had friends that would come to me and say, it's okay to be okay. And I had a couple of teachers as well, but just picture going through that at the age of 11, because I went 11 and then I turned 12, going through that and dealing with someone that a parent who's a teacher who's in the same building with you, and they're on drugs, and but she still had the job, so she was able to still function. And I think a lot of it was probably, I think she didn't lose her job, which was surprising, but I think because of the shortage, I think they needed subs as well. They didn't want to like let her go, but she had been around and teaching for a long time at that time. But my heart goes out to any kid that deals with bullying. It is so stressful, y'all. I've been through it. A lot of the other kids, I'm sure, have been through it. And one of the things that gets me is that we're able more now to tend to it, right? To notice it. Because you have all of these different, technology. They do more now than they did back then. Back then, they just talked about you and they made jokes in your face and things like that. Now it's more, to me, dangerous because of social media and people being bullied on the web. So I'm a strong advocate for bullying. Like it's not tolerated. I feel like we need to hammer down on it more. The thing is balancing and trying to figure out what's considered bullying and what's not. So I say that story about my mom because I went through that and I cried so much, guys. And I didn't get the support because that, I mean, I don't think people really knew how to support me. But now we have the resources. If a kid comes to you and they say they feel like they're being bullied, get specific details. I'm not saying everybody is being bullied, right? But it is out there, and some kids feel like they're being bullied. And so when that happens, I just have to investigate it. Get into detail. I try to figure out what's going on, connect with parents, because you have parents that are concerned. Then you have the kids who are going through it. And I went through mine in silence. Like, I would ask for help, but then a lot of times I just kept it in and I would just cry. So I'm going to let you guys go on this one. This is part one, bullying. I have two more videos coming out, and it will go into the process of how I managed my mother and what happened with, or how my mother managed me, and what happened in regards to how I started to display just these different characteristics that kids go through today. And so please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. Thank you for all the subscribers thus far, and I will catch you on the next video.